We are live again. Let's see how many people we can get on tonight. Let's go here. Not. Let's do this one. Hello, one viewer. Can you hear me okay? Oh, I'm up to 3 viewers now. Woohoo! Oh, we're back down to 1. All right. Well, it looks like we just have one person. So this is from my photo shoot the other day with Mari. And we're going to edit this image today, I think. As you can see, I've already cropped it down just a little bit. And you can see my settings over here, 1/160th of a second at f8, ISO 200, 125 using the 7200. And it looks like it's just a little underexposed. I like to play with the auto first, see what that does, and you can tell here that it screwed it up. So I'm going to drop this, drop my highlights down, I'll put my blacks, pump up my shadows, drop my shadows just a little bit. You can see we got some shadow clipping, which I personally don't mind. Change our clarity to 10. Drop down here, some noise reduction. Not that there's any. All right. And now we will take this into Photoshop. Right click, edit, open as a smart object in Photoshop. All right. Now that we have it opened, I'd like to do a couple of things right at the beginning. Go up here to Window, Arrange, New Window. So that creates 2 copies of this. And then I go back up to Window, Arrange, and then 2 up vertical. So now I have 2 copies of it. This allows me to keep this one the same, and then I can zoom in on this one, and whatever changes I make, I can see it over here without having to zoom in and out every single time. So, as you can see, zoom in, zoom out. Then I will go ahead and duplicate this layer, Command J, and you can see now we have the 2 layers. First thing I always do is I go in here with my spot healing brush tool, and I will first touch the image. It'll ask me do I want to rasterize. I hit OK, and then I zoom in and start working on the small stuff. Now, of course, she doesn't have very many flaws, so we're going to try to get rid of this hair. I'm going to get rid of this hair. Just kind of come up here and get rid of just some of these little things here. Nothing really bad. Just kind of go over these spots. If there's anything else that I saw, come here, let's look down on her arms. I don't see anything. All looks good. And that's a good start. Sometimes I'll make another layer, and I'll go into my patch tool, and I'll come up underneath the eyes. This. And then I'll drag it down. And that takes a little bit of the bag out. You can also do, what's it, Shift Command F, I think. Yep, and we can do a fade. And that reduces a little bit so it doesn't look totally crazy. We can do this to the other side if we wanted to. And I try not to remove all of it. Just like to make it a little bit more smoother. I'll do the same thing. Shift Command F. Do a fade about 80%. And it still looks natural. Alright. And then I have 3 up here, and I like to flatten a lot. Come up here and go to flatten image. Next thing I'll do is I like to make her eyes a little brighter. We'll create a duplicate layer. Go to our screen blending modes, and then we'll select screen. and that makes the entire image brighter. Come down here to our layer mask, but we'll hold down the Option or Alt key. And then we'll go in with a brush, and I like to make sure that my flow is at 25% and my opacity is at 25%. And I use a soft edge brush, reduce it in size, and I'll come in here and I'll paint on the iris a little bit, and then in the whites of the eyes. And I'm using white on a black layer mask. So come here, and we're just going to take that out. Just paint it in here. And what I like to tell people is they like to sometimes go overboard when they're editing the eyes. I personally try not to. People have veins in their eyes, they have slight imperfections. And you can see, if we look over here at our smaller copy, she almost looks fake. So I will take and I'll drag the opacity down, and then I'll come back up here and I'll turn it off and on. You can see there's just a slight difference, not much at all. Just a little bit. Alright, so now that that's done, I will come here and go down to flatten image. Then we'll go into our skin retouching, and I use, what do I use? What's it called? Oh, frequency separation. I couldn't even think of it there. To do frequency separation, you have to create 2 additional layers. You will hide the top layer, go to your middle layer, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I usually start out at around 5.0, and it's just enough blur to make it look blurry. And then we'll hit OK on that. Then I will go up to the top layer, make it visible again. Come over here to Image, Apply Image, and on my layer, I'll select the layer 1, which is that middle copy. And in the blending mode, instead of multiply, I will use subtract. Somebody else has figured this out, but the scale is 2 and the offset is 128. I actually got the way that I do the frequency separation with Flern. So I'll hit OK. You can tell that it's all gray. You can see all this weird stuff here. Now, you still have this layer selected. You go up here to your blending modes, and if you'll go down to linear light, it should look like nothing has changed. Alright. So now we'll go and select our middle layer, and that's the one that we put the Gaussian blur on. Come up here and select my lasso tool. I want to make sure that I have a feather of 40 pixels, and I'll show you what that looks like. When I'm using my tablet here, I will draw an area. That. And as you can see, makes a nice little round area there. Then we'll come up here to Filter, and then we'll go to Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this on YouTube, but I usually change it to 9.0 now. And it's just a little bit of a difference, because we still want her to have texture, and all that's going to do is kind of smooth out the color a little bit. Not necessarily the skin, but the way the color goes. So we turn it off. Yeah. So we'll now go down here to our nose. And we'll back up here. Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. 1.0. If it's too much, you can reduce it a little bit. Let's go 7.01 here. And we'll select another area, this big area here. And then Gaussian blur, I have a hotkey. And I'll go 9.0. And then I'll, oops, screwed up there. Come over here to the left side, select this area. And hotkey. And it's set to 9.0. Then I'm going to go here. Select the chin. Gaussian blur. 9.0. Okay. And because we can see her arms, we're going to go ahead and do the rest of the body as well. Command G, Gaussian blur. Okay. And we'll move to, I can't really see this one very well, so I'm not going to worry about it. But this side, and you can draw a big section of her arm. Hit Command G again. You can see it smooth it out just a tad. I'm going to move up down her armament. Select this area. Hit Command G again. Select this area. Command G. Now I've set up my hotkey is Command G. Usually it is something else, so you may want to double check that. I think Command G usually puts layers in groups. G. We'll go on this side of her. G. All right. And we will deselect. And as you can tell, she still has texture. We don't want to make it super smooth. It still looks good. So we'll come up here to this layer, which has all the textures. We'll go to our clone stamp tool. And we want to make sure that it's in norm mode, and we only want to sample the current layer. Sometimes it'll be current and below or all layers. You have to make sure that you have it set on current layer. And I usually start real small, and I'll sample, and you can see this little texture here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it on YouTube, so let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit more. There's these little textures here and there that just look a little off place, so we will sample a different area over here, and then we'll just kind of rub it out. Yeah. And we'll sample, and we're going to just try to get through all of this little places here and there. And now this is totally preference of what you want to do. Some people don't like to go through all this detail work, and she actually doesn't need that much, so I'm not giving you a very good example here. Come here, kind of get rid of just kind of decrease them a little bit. And we got a couple spots here that could probably get rid of there. I don't think she'd have a problem with us getting rid of them. Here. Oh, and let's see, we're going out to this side now. There's this part I kind of don't like. Come up here. You can see it's just barely doing anything. It's just enough to kind of take those textures down or decrease them just a little bit, because we want to leave skin texture because we want it to make his look almost as natural as possible. There's some spots here on our nose, and you'll notice that we're not messing with the color because the color was on the second layer. chin. There's a couple spots here on her chin. You can see. There you go. Come in here. Going through all of these little different spots here, and all I'm doing is just reducing the textures. I'm not actually taking them away. I'm just really reducing them. Because people have texture on their skin. Alright, so come back over here. I'm not liking this spot right here. And we're going to try to reduce some of this stuff, this stuff, this stuff. There we go. So, if we look over here on this side, still looks good. Still looks good. All right. So we're going to zoom out. You can see, even here, she still has texture on her skin, but it's nice and smooth, and it doesn't look fake. All right. So, I think we're done here on this as far as this step. And I'm going to come over here, right click, and flatten image. And then the last thing that I usually do is what's called dodge and burn. There are several techniques to doing this. Here is the way that I like to do it. So here, I'll grab an adjustment layer and go to curves. And I take this little finger and I look for an area right about there, which is a highlight. I click down and I push it up just a little bit. So you can see all the highlight areas got brighter. Then I will hit Command I, which will invert it. And we can rename this dodge. And we'll come down here, grab another curves layer, grab our little thing, and we're looking for a shadow. And I usually like to get right about there. And I'll click and I'll drag down this time. You can see that it brought all the shadows down. Now, it's totally preference on how much you want to pull it down or not. So this image is actually pretty dark, so I don't want to drag it down too much. And then I will hit Command I, and we can rename this one Burn. Alright, we'll go to our dodge layer, grab the brush, our brush tool, and again our opacity is at 25, our flow is at 25, and this is a soft brush. I will zoom in, go up to her face, and we're just going to go over the areas that are already bright. Just like this. Down the nose area, right here on her cheekbone, on this side a little bit. I always like to hit the lips, right there, and a little bit above here. Oh, and we're going with the white brush, obviously. And you can see that there's a little bit. You can see where I've actually hit it whenever you hit the backslash button. This will show you your mask and what is being affected whenever you are painting with it. Over here. I'm going to kind of bring in this chin a little bit. And then over here, down in the neck area. And I like to go over the eyes one more time. And then you can also come into the hair. Oh, looks like I lost all my watchers on my live event. That's okay. This will be posted onto my YouTube page for people to check out as well. Alright, so we're going to come over here. We'll do the same thing with the arms. And it probably doesn't help because my voice is kind of boring. And that looks good, that looks good. So now we'll come up to the burn tool, or the burn adjustment layer. And the same thing, we'll go with our brush. We'll go here to get those dark. And I always like to hit the eyebrows, even though her eyebrows are flawless. And then try to go into the makeup area. And then I reduce the size and go down here. And then her eyelashes will stand out even more. Increase the size of our brush again. Here. Yeah, I know it's Labor Day weekend, so people are probably tired. So, no big deal. And then here. I usually like to go a little darker to kind of frame the face. We do have some shadow clipping, but like I said, this is my personal choice how I like it. And here. And then we're going to go the arms, darken this area here. And, oh, yeah, so I like to get right here on this. Kind of enhance her lips a little bit. So, I think that looks good. Then what I like to do is just to see, so I will take these layers and I'll group them. And we can see before and then after. And as you can tell, it's very, very, very subtle. I don't know if you can see that on YouTube, but it's really, really subtle. And then we'll go ahead and we are going to flatten our image again. And I saw some things here that I wanted to fix before I take it back into Lightroom. There was some stray hairs. So we'll hit Command J, go back to our spot healing brush, and we'll take care of those right quick. I'll increase the size. I don't like to see these little things here. But that's how it is sometimes. We're going through, you get these little things. There, there, there. Just some lint that was kind of bugging me. Of course, nobody's going to zoom in as much as I'm zooming in, but it's just how I am. And you may be different. Alright, so now we'll go back in here and flatten our image. And if there's anything else, nope. I will click here and close this one. And then I will close this one. I'll ask me, do I save? I hit save. And then what it does is it actually pulls it over into Lightroom, and I have this secondary copy right here. It creates a TIFF file. So here is the original that we started with, and here is my edit. And as you can see, there is not a big difference. If I wanted to, I could add a little slight vignette to it. We go harder vignette. I actually kind of like that. Yeah, because it puts a little bit more emphasis on her face. It's all personal taste from this point. And then I will create a virtual copy. And I will come over here while I'm in Lightroom and hit black and white. And to make this a awesome black and white, you can hold down your Alt and you can increase your whites until you see just a little bit of white. And you can see it's popping. It's just down at the bottom. And then we can go click on here, and if there's any black showing, which there are, very good. I'm going to kind of reduce those just a little bit. And you can see that her skin, it doesn't look gray. And to me, that's really big whenever you're doing black and white. We want to add some pop whenever you convert it to black and white. You can also up the exposure a little bit, which I don't like. I like this is more moody, so I'm going to pop it back down. And then in my black and whites, I always like to add a little grain. So we'll go down here to our grain, 20. And then whenever you zoom in, oh, that was wrong. Whenever you zoom in, you can see just a little bit grain, and it gives it a little more. A little more timeless feel for the black and white. Finally, we'll right click on them, go to export, export. This is going to be for my Facebook exports, and I already have a preset for this. I like to put it in my subfolder, Lightroom edits, and then my quality is 70, resolution 72, so you can't print it, and then I'll add my watermark. And I always add a watermark. And I think we'll keep it on the bottom left. Export. And then I'll do the same thing with the black and white. And then because I've already done it once with the previous file, I'll just hit export with previous. And there we go. And thanks for checking it out. Like I said, this is the beginning image, the black and white image, and then the color image. And I used this image to create my black and white image. I usually will do a full edit in color, and then I'll create a black and white image. So hope you enjoyed this live cast. I know I don't have anybody watching, but like I said, this will be on my YouTube page if you want to see it. So thanks for tuning in.